Hello, everyone. My name is Sorin. I'm a front-end developer, and I've started working with Magento back in 2014. I've started working with Magento 1.9, the responsive web design team. Back in 2016, I've joined the Baldwin team and started getting familiar with Magento 2. On Magento 2, I've started working with the Luma team, and we had a lovely relationship of almost 4 years. But I'm standing in front of you today because our relationship started shaking, and yeah, I guess you all know why. So the idea of my presentation came a few weeks ago when I've checked Hyvä's website, the list of suppliers on Hyvä's site, and I saw there are only 3 Romanian agencies listed there, and yeah, I wondered why. I also had some talks with former colleagues of mine which work in this environment, and they didn't know about they didn't know anything about Hyvä yet. And yeah, I've realized that the adoption rate of Hyvä in Romania was pretty low for some reason. And I think one reason might be the fear and the skepticism of agencies to try out new products, although Hyvä already has more than 3 years on the market. So it's a pretty solid product already, and it has a pretty large community all over the world. And yeah, I think this is the main reason, because I don't think it's because you haven't heard about it, right? So to quickly prove my assumption, please raise a hand if you've ever heard of Hyvä before John's speech today. Okay, and nice. And how many of you already started working with it, or at least experimenting with it? Okay, that's nice. Okay. My presentation will be a less technical one, because for some reason, as I've said, I've assumed that there aren't that many developers that already started working with Hyvä. I will not brag about its performances, although it's definitely its strongest point, but yeah, John already did that. You might hear me brag about the fun of working with Hyvä and with Magento again, and from my point of view, this is the biggest change that added in our team, in our development team, and I'm actually here to present you our journey with it since the first day we've heard about it back in October 2020. And my goal is that I hope I will encourage more agencies and front-end developers to make a change in their professional lives and yeah, give Hyvä a shot. So let's start with a bit of context. As I've said, after a 4-year relationship with Hyvä, with ups and downs like every relationship, we've reached a tense moment, and although we've tried all possible ways to make it faster by minifying HTML, minifying and merging JavaScript and CSS, by optimizing images and lazy loading them. After following all performance improvements guides and posts that we could find on the internet, and also after following Google's improvement recommendations, we've run out of ideas and technical solutions to make it faster. It was just too slow compared to other front-end solutions out there and to other platform and front-end solutions out there. And it was pretty slow in Google's eyes also. And the changes that Google introduced in May 2020 for its page speed score algorithm made it look even worse. So the decent scores of 90+ on CMS pages and 80+% on category pages quickly turned into 50+, 40+ something. So then, yeah, we had to make a change, and our marketeers were already crying about it. So, as probably most of you also did, we've started looking for alternatives. So we first checked PWAs, which at that time were not all of them were 100% ready for production. They were still missing some features, and The third-party module compatibility was still lacking. Other problem with them was that they were too complex and they had a huge learning curve, which would have caused great initial development costs and increased time to market for our team. And they still had performance issues caused by the great amount of data that had to be downloaded on the client side. So, and we've also checked outside of the Magento ecosystem. We've checked Shopware, we've checked Cilius, but this was a completely new territory for our team. Most of us worked with Magento in the last couple of years, so we had no experience with other platforms, and we just felt that everything that we've learned about Magento in the last couple of years would just go to waste. So then, this was a no-go. And because the ancient tech stack that Luma came with, and the persistent performance issues, the great complexity of the front end, and the pain caused by the exhausting debugging sessions, doing Magento front end was not fun anymore. So then frustration was all over the place. It got even worse if we were looking outside of the Magento ecosystem and seeing the technologies that they are using. And yeah, as a front-end developer, I just felt frustrated about that. So a change had to be made, and fast, because I was not the only one feeling that I don't enjoy working with Magento anymore. Can anyone relate to this? Okay. And this is how it all started. Back in the autumn of 2020, during the Reacticon online conference in the Netherlands, Willem Wigman presented the biggest secret, his lightweight front-end solution for Magento called Hyvä. A hype discussion started back then in our Baldwin office. We've started breaking things apart and just discussing pros and cons, but against all concerns, we were pretty much decided to give it a try, since it was the closest solution to what we already knew about Magento. So, yeah, we've decided we are actually eager to give it a try. Although Martin, our CEO, was not that sure that we should already try it. He was still skeptical at that time, and especially because of the poor third-party module compatibility that Hyvä had back then. Because this reminded him of 2016, when he dreamed Baldwin to be a pioneer in working with Magento 2. He decided he wanted to start early. And although we've learned a lot starting that early with Magento 2, yeah, it cost him an arm and a leg to get there. So, but yeah, he was impressed, and he was impressed by the team's enthusiasm and confidence in this solution, in this Hyvä solution, and in Hyvä's ideas. So he decided to give it a try. He reached out to Willem, and a few weeks later, we've gained early access to the repo and to the resources. So, yeah, Christmas came early that year. But let me tell you, the middle was a bit painful when we've started actually touching the code and started learning. In the beginning of 2021, a huge project came in, which brought the necessary budget to enable us to start learning and experimenting with Hyvä. Lochting, that's the name of the project. It's a SaaS. It's an out-of-the-box web shops for European pharmacists. It's our project, and it's our product actually, and we had to secure stability and scalability, so we've decided to build it on top of Magento, because we all know Magento is pretty strong and solid and stable and such. Yeah, needless to say, this wasn't an easy decision, but we've decided to go with Hyvä on the front end. So a few front-end and back-end developers started working, checking the source code, reading the Hyvä's documentation, also hands-on learning Tailwind CSS and Alpine.js. And we've also asked and received valuable support from Hyvä and from Hyvä's community through Slack. Since the Hyvä compatibility for most third-party modules since the Hyvä compatibility for the third-party modules that we were used to use in our Magento 2 projects was pretty poor, we've decided to go what came out of the box with Hyvä, and that's, for example, we went with Smile Elastic Suite for the search and the layer navigation, and with our few of our Baldwin modules, for which we had to rewrite the front end in order to make it compatible with Hyvä. And yeah, this was a pretty great learning experience that we had with rewriting the front end of our modules. The source code of our modules started shrinking, and Alpine.js helped us a lot in this process. Following Hyvä's approach, we've removed Magento UI components, and we've also removed required.js and jQuery, and we've started developing the front end of our product. At that time, implementation time was still high due to the learning process and to the changes that we had to do to our development flows. But at least the fun was back in. Yeah, PMs were not happy, of course, because of time being still high. We were a bit frustrated by this, but yes, things started moving faster and faster each and every day because we've continued learning and improving our skills. Then the second project came in, a project which was a bit more demanding because we also had to use third-party modules. And yeah, some of them were not yet Hyvä compatible. Months passed and missing features were introduced in Hyvä, and also some more improvements were introduced along. And we've realized that it's time to upgrade the solution we've already built on top of Hyvä. The layouting and templating upgrading it's pretty similar to upgrading Luma, actually. It was not easy because it was our first upgrade that we did for Hyvä, but the documentation made a huge difference in this project and helped a lot. Yeah, looking back at the upgrades we did, since Hyvä became more and more stable, which with every release, we felt that the upgrade complexity reduced. And the thing I like most about Hyvä when it comes to upgrading is their constant concern on making the upgrades as smooth as possible in order to reduce the time required to do an upgrade. Of course, after the second project went live, we've decided to drop developing using our Luma-based theme and started developing on a new solution built on top of Hyvä. We've customized a bit Hyvä to be a bit more quicker in launching projects and developing projects. And yeah, throughout the following years, 2022, 2023, most of our tickets involved working with Hyvä and was either migrating from a previous Luma-based project or starting one from scratch. Okay, let's have a look at some differences and similarities between Luma and Hyvä workflows and structures. Like in Luma's case, you can create a theme in two ways, by either inheriting from Hyvä default theme or by duplicating the Hyvä, actually overwriting the Hyvä default theme and inheriting from the Hyvä reset theme and modify that one. if we look at the folder structure, you will see that files and folder names, even file names were kept. So everything we already knew about Magento remained the same. One of the changes that they did, and you can easily spot it in the screenshot, is that the CSS files from the modules, the theme modules, are missing, because now the CSS can go either directly in the templates through Tailwind utility classes, or it can go in the themes root web Tailwind folder in some specific CSS files. Hyvä also reduced the dependency of third-party libraries, as John also mentioned, and they've introduced the lightweight Alpine.js. But in case some third-party libraries are required, yeah, you can use a lightweight third-party, like they, for example, use Glider for more advanced featured sliders. Okay, the code inside the templates also gets slimmer. You can here see an example. I took the simple component, the collapsible. On Luma, you have the templates and then the logic separated in a different JavaScript file. But on Hyvä, on the other side, you will see that the entire logic goes inside of the template, and it's managed through Alpine.js. The logic is very simple and inlined, and it's eliminating the need of using external JavaScript files. In case of more complex functionality, you will be able to see that functions are declared in a script tag, usually up on top of the PHTML file. So you can move all your logic up there. Communication between components is done through events. You can dispatch an event in your component and then catch it in a different component where you need it. Hyvä also reduced CSS complexity. They've removed entirely the styling that came with Luma. And as I've said, the styling can go directly into the PHTML file, like you can see in the top screenshot. They are using Tailwind utility classes in there, or you can put them in separate files. For example, if you want to style global elements like buttons or typography, they're not doing it like that, and that was actually the first thing that we've removed from Hyvä, and that was the main reason why we had to overwrite some templates, because they are adding the styling for typography directly in the templates, and in case you want to have a more general approach when it comes to generally globally styled elements like typography and buttons, as I've said, we had to remove Tailwind classes, and we've added the styling in separate files in the Tailwind folder. And okay. For more information about how Hyvä works, or what Hyvä brings, and in-depth details regarding the changes that they've added through their solution, I encourage you to check Hyvä's documentation, which is public, and you can access it on the link displayed on the slide. They also have you covered with Alpine.js and Tailwind config learning resources. So you will find everything that you need to get you started on their documentation. They also provide recommendation for browser and IDE development and debugging extensions, which you will most definitely want to use. Okay, and let's go to some Hyvä pros and cons, comparing it to Luma, of course. Well, from our point of view, the modern tech stack that it brings, the outstanding out-of-the-box performance, the reduced time to market, and yeah, the shallow learning curve, the custom features, which are less complex and are easier to build. These are, from our point of view, the biggest pros of Hyvä. Some cons, although, yeah, I would call them pseudo cons actually, because okay, Hyvä is a commercial product, and I think everyone knows the cost of it. But although it costs that sum of money, I would say it's actually a small price to pay with, for what it offers. Okay, and it also has limited third-party modules compatibility, but that's not actually that true nowadays. Okay, you will probably won't be able to find a compatibility module or a compatible module for any module that you can think, but most of them, the most popular ones that you've already used, most probably are already Hyvä compatible, or at least have a Hyvä compatibility module built by the Hyvä guys and by the community. Okay, and also a thing that you might not like, as I've previously said, that we have to strip out the typography styling from the templates. Some of my colleagues, I've passed over that, but some of my colleagues are still intrigued by that for each and every small change that you have to, styling change that you have to do for a particular element on the page, you will have to override a template, which might increase a bit the complexity of doing, when doing upgrades. Okay. Back to our days, 3 years later, and 5 shops successfully launched on Hyvä, plus 200 of them which run on our SaaS solution in both Romania and Belgium. We still don't regret the decision that we've made back then of picking Hyvä to be the front-end solution that we use for our projects. For Lochting, our next challenge will be to scale up in France, in Germany, Spain, Australia, Austria, to reach 1,000 stores. And yeah, we're working hard for that. Building shops using Hyvä and finding compatible modules has become significantly less challenging these days. So yeah, I encourage you to start working with it. This year, we've also started experimenting with Hyvä UI that John also presented, and with Hyvä Checkout. And we've recently launched our first Hyvä shop, which uses both Hyvä themes and Hyvä Checkout. This project involved rebuilding a previous Luma project that we've developed for a client of ours, but because of the performance issue that it had, we've decided to rewrite it or remake it using Hyvä. I wasn't fortunate enough to work on this project. I haven't worked with Luma Checkout, with Hyvä Checkout yet, but I did work with Luma Checkout, which you can still use together with Hyvä. So I wasn't fortunate enough to work on this, especially on the Fund Courier integration. Someone else draw the short straw in this case. If someone is interested in more details regarding the integration of payment, shipping methods for the Romanian market, my colleagues here are eager to help you with that, with your questions. So yeah, feel free to reach out to them either here or at the party. And yeah, thank you for your time. And